Hey team, hope you're all doing well. Today I wanted to go over a comment that I got from one of my subscribers, and it has to do with like the exception, not the rule when it comes to marathon racing. And I thought what he left here, this comment that he left, is really important, so I wanted to address it. He said, with all due respect, I always have a bit of an issue when you mention your 107-112 split for your 219 marathon PR. This shouldn't be considered any sort of planned strategy for a marathon for 99.9% of people. I realize you were well trained and it worked for you, but I think you should at least mention this is the exception, not the rule. Hitting a half marathon PR in the first half of a marathon is insanity for anyone who has been running for many years. Of course, unless of course they do very little half marathons, of course. I always ask myself how many running world records were set with big positive splits. Being aggressive can be a good strategy sometimes and lead to a PR, but the longer the race, the less you can bank time. Just saying. Anyway, I appreciate the content and cheers. And I 100% agree with this. And I think when I make videos, there's always more to what I have to say. Because there's only so much time in each one of these videos, and there's obviously other things that go into play. When I ran that 219, and I do mention this, and he is 100% correct, Clash with Grumpy Old Men is his username, so definitely check out his channel if you go and subscribe to this guy. I think what he mentioned here is really important. On that particular day, I think I was probably in about 105 half marathon shape. Okay, so for me going out in that, that was at the 2007 California International Marathon. My PR at that time, prior to the start of that race for the half marathon, was 107.06, and I went through the half point in that race in 107.09. So, yes, without a doubt, you should not race like this, and he is 100% correct. And what he said too, this doesn't really apply for about 99.9% of people. Absolutely, it doesn't. If you're going to race like that, and then for me, I had no idea we were going to go out that quick. But on that particular day, I probably was in, like I said, probably about 105 flat to 105.30 half marathon shape. So going out on that particular day in 107.09, 3 seconds slower than my personal best for a half marathon, was okay, but it's not the way you should run a race. Again, as I mentioned in other videos, sometimes going out in a positive split for some runners works, but if you're going to go out that aggressive, you had better be in that type of shape. Like I mentioned, on that day, just everything went perfect, and I was probably in the type of shape where I could have raced a half about 2 minutes faster than I went through that first half marathon point, 107.09. So if your PR is, say, 112 for a half marathon, don't go out the first half in a marathon in 112. So that's, when I make these videos, I do try to remind athletes that there are pros and cons. There are risks to doing some things in racing that you've never done before in your life. And I think that's why I always stress really paying attention to what you're doing in training, making sure that training, you're not going all out in training, but you have to get to a point where you're stressing the energy systems properly so that you can sustain goal race pace in training. But I think too, what he says here, in being this particular performance that I performed that day was an exception. It wasn't the rule, without a doubt. And he is right for saying that. I had never done that type of performance ever prior to running that time. As I mentioned, my PR for the 10-mile distance prior to that race was 50:54, and that was a 10-mile point en route to running my 107.06 at the Philadelphia Distance Classic. It's a half marathon, but it's called the Philadelphia Distance Classic. If you want to run a very competitive, flat, fast half marathon, definitely check that out. It's this year, it's September 25th, 2025, but it's usually the last week of September. That is a phenomenally just well put on competitive race that I think a lot of athletes that are wanting to run a faster half marathon definitely should consider. And to give you an idea, I ran 107.06, and I think I was 24th overall in that race. 101 won it. And even last year I checked in 2024, the top 3 guys ran 101. So if you're wanting to run a really quick and set a new PR, go there. But I think too, when in regards to Clash with Grumpy Old Men's question in his comment, you do have to be mindful of how you race. I was very confident in how I had prepared for that race, and I never achieved that particular time ever again. I mean, again, sometimes we train all our lives to produce a flow state race where all the so-called stars align and everything goes perfect. But on that particular morning, 107.09, when I hit that point, I didn't freak out when I hit the first half. I just realized this is a different day, because I'm not feeling like I'm stressed out right now. I really started to hurt really bad in that race once I hit the 21 mile point, and that's when I lost contact with the top 2 Kenyans that went 1-2 in the race, and the Canadian that finished 3rd ahead of me. There was another Ukrainian, Russian guy that finished in 5th that ran with us most of the race. He finished 5th in 2:23, but he had a PR of 2:12 coming in. So it just shows you it doesn't matter how fast you've run. We all can have bad days, but if you want to call a 2:23 a bad day, that's still a phenomenal time. But again, you don't want to go out so aggressive that you blow up. Okay, so if, like I mentioned, if your PR is say 145, don't go out the first half in 145. Okay, so it is important to be smart in the race. But if you have the confidence and you've done the proper training and you're in much faster, say you're a 145 half marathoner, if you know you can run a 140, going out in a 145 might not make you blow up as much as say if you weren't in 140, it might not make you blow up and say you are in 140 half marathon shape. I think even if you're in 140 half marathon shape and your PR is 145, you gotta still be smart with the training. And for me, I just went for it that day. Sometimes you do have to take the risks, but you have to be smart. But sometimes you do have to take the risk and say, hey, I'm going to go with these guys regardless how much better they are. And for me, I was way out of my league in terms of how fast those particular guys were and what my personal best was for the marathon. I'd run that, like I mentioned, a 50-54 10 mile en route to the 107.06 half marathon. So I knew I was in at least 222 shape for the marathon. But my PR for the marathon going into this performance was 240.02. Okay? Even when I ran 240.02, nothing went right in that race either. I went out the first half in 110.32, and I came back with a 129 high, walking and jogging the last 10 kilometers of the race. So just know, when I make these videos, know that, one, I'm not trying to gloat in any way. I'm not. I'm trying to just discuss the things that went right in the past for me, and also the failures along the way. And I've made a lot of them. I think what's most important for me when I make my videos is to say to athletes, regardless, where you're at, if you're faster than me, if you're slower than me, that, hey, this is someone that I can relate to that really gets it. That's not like trying to, hey, I did this and I did this. How about, but also says, hey, I failed plenty of times and I got outran and destroyed in track races and road races. Didn't just land on a 219, ran 250s, 240s, 230s, a couple 3.0s. I think 3:04 was my slowest marathon I ever ran. But again, many challenges trying to get this event right. But again, as I direct back to Clash with Grumpy Old Men's comments, what he said is 100% right. Running a marathon, if your PR is a 107 or 107.06 in my case, and going out 107.09, that's not the way to run. Don't do that. Okay? If you do it, if you have, say, like a PR of 130 for the half, and you go out in 130 through the first half of your marathon, in most cases, you're going to blow up bad. Okay? If you do get it right, it just means that you are in superior shape. You're in much faster PR shape than a 130. Okay, it's just sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't, and I've been there. So please understand that when I make my videos, do know that there are exceptions to the rule, as Clash with Grumpy Old Men mentioned in his comment. And on that particular day, that was definitely a special day for me. It was the best performance, I think, athletically that I've ever dropped in my life. Ran track and field in high school and in college. Ran a lot of top-level road races in my prime. But that particular day was the best performance I think I ever dropped as an athlete. But I failed so many times too. So I want to be relatable when I make my videos, and just to let you guys and gals know that, hey, it was not smooth for me either. Okay, I had doubts. I had times where I wanted to quit. I had times where I really, where I was out there thinking, what am I doing out here, putting in these 24-mile runs and doing these track workouts at 4 o'clock in the morning by myself before I go to work? What is the point of all this? And is it really worth it? Am I really going to get to that elite level that I was dreaming about, or at least kind of sniffing it a little bit? You know what I mean? So I hope this video is helpful, just to remind all of you that there are exceptions and there are the rule of marathon racing. So please understand that. Thanks again, Clash with Grumpy Old Men. Appreciate your comment. Appreciate your honesty as well and your bluntness. I think that's important. And thanks for all of your support, for all of you that watch my videos, share my videos, like my videos. And I'll talk to you all in the next one.